Hi everyone, welcome back to the Crafty Author. My name is Anissa. I am the Crafty Author and welcome to my craft room. And today we are going to be learning how to attach rows to a quilt using the Quilt As You Go method with sashing strips. I will be using a 1-inch sashing strip on the front and a 2-inch sashing strip on the back that's been ironed in half to make it 1 inch. Say that 10 times fast. Sashing strip. It's a real tongue twister, let me tell you. Anyway, so we are going to go ahead and get started. All right, first things first, I want to show you these cute little scissors that I picked up. They're pink and black. They're so cute. I love the pink. Pink and reds are my favorite colors. They're really, really sharp. And these are, I do believe these are Singer scissors that I got at, believe it or not, my local grocery store. I saw them hanging there and I was like, ooh, I have to have those. And my husband laughed at me and said, why, of course you do. So anyway, I have gone ahead and I've cut my strips. And this is the 2 inches that I've gone ahead and ironed in half. So you will want to do this. This is going to go on the back side. I didn't have a long enough strip, so I pieced it. You can see there, I just sewed the strips together, then ironed them in half. Okay, and then I went ahead and sewed some strips together for my front, and then I just cut them at 1 inch. And you can see here, see, I could have pressed this open and I probably should have, but I did not. I actually pressed it to the side. It won't matter. You can do it either way that works for you. This is going to work out fine for me, so I'm not too worried about it. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up and I'm going to show you how I do this. All right, so what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to grab your big long strip that you already have, that you've already put together. And I have gone ahead and grabbed mine. And you want to make sure that you're going to put your stripping towards the bottom because that's where you're going to start attaching. And so I have mine labeled up at the top what row they are, so I know that this is the top, this is the top, and this is the bottom. This is where I'm going to attach my strips. I'm also going to be using some of these clips, so you're going to want to have some of those. And I'm just going to grab one of my strips that's 1 inches. Make sure it fits, and it does. And I'm going to put this down first. And I'm just going to clip. And so it's raw edge to raw edge and clipping. Now this is a pretty long strip, so you'll see this as we go along here. I like to do the front first. You can do them at the same time, do the front and the back strip. I just find that it's easier to do the front strip first, then add the back strip. I don't know why, that's just what works for me. You do what works for you. But as you can see, I'm just clipping that down. And then what I will do as I get closer is I will, or when I finish doing the front, I'll flip it over and I will start attaching that back stripping piece. It goes fairly quick once you start getting into the groove of things. But it does take a little bit of time. And I am actually clipping this in real time so that you can see really just how long it does take And you can see right now it's really not taking too long as we're almost to the very end here. So, and that's just by starting on the front side. So. I find that these clips really come in handy. I actually prefer these clips over pins. You can use pins. They work great, but I prefer the clips. Just makes it a little easier, I feel. And if you don't have clips, just like I mentioned in my last video, you can use clothespins. Those work great, and so do like office clips. Those little black clips that you use to clip your papers. So, all right, so the front is done. I've got my first strip on the front. Now I'm going to turn this over, okay? And I'm going to grab one of my pieces that is now folded in half, the 2-inch. This is the thicker side. And I am going to just place this right here on the back, raw edges to raw edges, and I'm just gonna pull my clips that I did on the front. I'm gonna pull those out and just hold it with my finger. Now that one is on a seam, so I need to be careful there. All right, we are now ready to stitch down. I'm gonna put my walking foot along that edge there. I'm just gonna start giving a little bit of a couple of stitches to get that started, and I'm just going to start stitching down. I use my foot on the edge here of our fabric, and that's what I use to guide. Turns out to be about 1/4 of an inch, give or take a little bit, but I'm not worried about this. So all right, so I have gone ahead, and after I sewed these 2 pieces down, I went to my iron and I pressed this top piece out. So that's our top piece, that thin piece, the 1-inch piece, okay? And we still have our other piece that's folded under, and that's how we want that. So then I went and I grabbed my other row, my row 2. And so what I'm going to do, it doesn't matter if this is on top or bottom at this point, but so I'm going to remove my row 2 card because we don't need it now. And I'm going to put this face down like so on my other piece. So you should have your 2 right sides facing each other, and your second row should have your raw edge on your sashing piece that you just ironed there. So that top piece, because we want to attach it to that. You're going to need your clips for this again. And we're going to start clipping. Now I like to clip the sides too, because I want this to be even. I don't want this to move while I'm clipping or sewing. So it's important that that remains intact. And then what I will also do is I will flip this, and I'm going to come over to this side. And honestly, I find it easier if I have this raw edge facing me so that I know exactly where I'm at. Because when you have it the other way, kind of going at it blindly, but here I can line up the raw edges to raw edges, and I can actually see where I'm going here. So again, preference, whatever works for you. I say do it. This is just how I do it. I'm just clipping the side here, like I did on the other one that I showed you, so that there's no movement. Okay. So now I'm going to continue to clip this whole thing on here now. And this is how we're going to attach it. Excuse me. With the, we're going to attach the sashing to the actual quilt block on our row 2. So I want you to be able to see what I'm doing here. And you can see that it's just laying really quite flat. I'm not really having to do much with it. And this is because of the way that we prepped it when we first started clipping here. So everything's just falling right into place. And again, this part of it actually goes fairly quick. It's not, once you get going, you can have this put together really in no time. It is just that quick. Which is the one thing that I must admit that I do like about this method, is how quickly it goes together. There are a couple extra steps in this where there's not for traditional quilting, but when you're working with a larger quilt and you don't have the space on your machine to really quilt a big quilt, this is really a great alternative for that. And you can see how easily this has all come together here for me. So we are actually ready to stitch this down. So you should have something that looks like this. All right, so this is just like when we sewed the blocks together. We're gonna do the same thing here. I'm just gonna set this down and start stitching along. Now, sometimes the fabric will move on you, so as you can see, mine is moving a little bit, so I'm going to have to hold this down. You could use a stiletto for this, or you can just use your fingers, which is what I use. Or you could use your seam ripper to kind of help guide, but I really find that just using your fingers and putting some pressure down will hold it in place and keep it from moving on you. So if that happens, just remember that little trick. It's not a big deal. It happens to everybody. So you could also glue these down if you wanted to. I just don't, because I don't need to. So this is how nice it turned out right here. You can see this is our strip that we sewed down right here. And it looks really good. It looks like it just belongs there. So now what we're gonna do is flip this over. All right, so for these longer strips, I'm gonna teach you how to do a little trick. The first thing I'm gonna do is I have some of this Scotch glue. This is tacky glue. It works on fabric. You can pick this up at Michael's, Walmart, Amazon, any of those places. You can also use Elmer's school glue. Okay, so here's what I'm going to show you that I do with this backing part, because this, you can pin it, but I find that it's a little bit more difficult when pinning. So I'm just going to run a bead of glue like so. along there. I'm going to press it down. You don't want it all over there. But what I'm going to do now, after I've done that, is I'm just going to give it a little bit of a press with my iron. And that is going to hold that down for me so that I can sew it down. But then I don't have to worry about it popping up like it's doing right here. So again, just gonna take a little bit of glue. You don't need very much. And honestly, I probably have too much on here in some places. So, the key to it really is just hitting it with the iron. And this will not gum up your needle. So for those of you who are wondering about that, it won't do that. You can also use heat and bond to hold these down if you wanted to. Just a light layer of that glue and you can press it down and this is one of those tricks. And it, like I said, if you have Elmer's glue, it works just as good. So, and if you want to just pin it, you can just pin it. You don't have to use this method either. I like it though because it holds it down. It holds it down and it allows me to get in there and do what I need to do. Okay, so just about done here. All right, and now we're ready to take this back over to our sewing machine and stitch it down. I don't know what I did with the lid. There's the cap. So now I'm going to do like what I did here on top with our decorative stitching right here with these wavy lines. I'm going to do that now here and on the back. So let's go do that. All right, so I've moved you out a little bit further. I know you're not going to be able to see real close up here, but I want you to be able to see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to put my, I'm going to use that decorative stitch, and I'm going to be sewing over where we just glued everything down. I'm going to start in the center. And I'm going to show you this because I want you to see that it's not going to do anything to my needle. All right, now that we're done, you can see, so this is the front side of our quilt. You can see that I stitched, and you can see that it's hitting here and hitting here, so you can see it on the front side, which is fine with me. I don't mind that. Here's the back side. You can see this strip right here. This is that strip that we glued down and then we stitched over right here. Turned out amazing. It looks great. This is what the back of our quilt looks like so far. Now we've only got the 2 rows attached, but I think this looks pretty doggone good. So yeah, there's that one that we just attached right there. So I think it looks great. That's it. I mean, it's as easy as that. It's just like when we put the blocks together. only you're working with a much bigger piece, and that makes it a little bit wonky, so it can be a little bit tougher to put together. But other than that, I think it looks fantastic. So no complaints from me. I love it. I took a poll to see if you guys were interested in adding borders to this using Quilt As You Go, or if you wanted to just do the binding. And you all unanimously let me know that you would like to have borders on it using the Quilt As You Go method. So we are going to do that. I'm going to ask for your patience with this, because please understand, I still have to put this whole quilt together. And then I have to make the border as well. So, but we are going to be doing that. So keep an eye out for that video. If you would like to follow me on social media, the links are down below in the description box. Don't forget to give this video a like. And if you'd like to share it, that's great, because sharing is caring. If you really want to help out my channel, it would be greatly appreciated if you would subscribe. You'll get notified each and every time that I upload a new awesomely cool video. And you can do that by clicking that little bell that says subscribe. And that is it. Keep on crafting. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.